Yes, and we are returning now to the ongoing nuclear talks in Vienna, and still at this stage, not many Iranians are brave enough to speak out freely on the Islamic Republic. But Camelia Entekhabifard, an Iranian journalist, was never afraid to openly criticize her nation, even when it cost her sitting in jail for almost 3 months. In a special interview in Vienna, Camelia told Ellie Hochenberg about the face of the new Iranian generation, their desire to become an integral part of the Western world, and on the connecting lines between Tehran and Tel Aviv.
Dear Ms. Entekhabifard, it's such a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much for your time. Well, we're practically days, maybe even hours before signing this historic agreement. And, you know, looking back on this long process, how do you think the nations involved have changed, namely, of course, the Iranian people?
It was a very long process. Even Rouhani got engaged for 2 years, but in the previous time, Ahmadinejad time, that process begins. From so much fears of a confrontation and escalation may be broken between Iran and the United States, and sometime in Israel too, having so much fear and people being so sleepless, and having this historical moment for Iranian, which is welcome them back out of the isolation and in a participation of the international scenes, it's a very big change and a huge welcoming by the Iranians. I'm not sure if the whole entire region were welcoming the deals, but definitely the effects and also the consequences of such an agreement, it would benefits all, no matter if today they are disagreed or if they dislike, but I'm sure in the coming months and years they would be benefiting from this peace deal rather than only the nuclear deal.
Well, one of our colleagues here defined this agreement as the win of hope over isolation. And the Iranian people, the day after, what can we expect from them? Where do they stand? Do they want this deal or do they want a change of their regime?
This agreement, it's sort of welcoming Iran back again to the international community. In the past 36 years ago, the acceptance of the Islamic Republic of Iran has been jeopardized by lots of dimensions of the regional points of view and argue. Let's say Iran-Iraq's war, the terrorism which Iran always has been accused and they were rejected to be involved and supporting the groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas, and some unproved regional activities. We don't know, we don't have any documents for it, but it has been told Iran has been accused all the time. And of course, the hostage crisis in Iran of the US Embassy in Tehran, all of those consequences has been built up such a bad reputation for Iranian internationally, which it hasn't been accepted by Iranians home before the revolution, so much well received. You have a different prestigious in the post-revolution time. I don't want to say the people hasn't made the revolution, they did, but the way Iranian be treated in post-revolution and after the revolution has been painful for many Iranians. I has been raised in Iran, and I can at least speak of myself. Those deal is a peace deal. It's a deal which helps Iran to come back again slowly among of the well-respected countries.
Well, as mentioned in your books, the post-revolution generation is now taking over the regime and is, taking control over Iran's future, basically. And you have a fascinating life story, which you've also extensively talked about in your books, namely on the struggle of women in Iran. Tell us a bit more about it.
Sooner or later, the new generation has to take over the power. And I don't want to name it, but there are people, for example, the former presidents of Iran, and also the key assisting those people with them. Their children has been grown and has been studied abroad. And those people are, at least we could say somehow, they has been affected by Western education. The very much good example is Mr. Zarif. He was 18 years old when the revolution happened, and he was at the United States, finished his education, and today he is not representing that generation which we are talking about, but at least he's very open-minded person. But those changes would come to Iran by their own from the insiders. My own experiences about living and working in Iran, It was fascinating, but at the same time very difficult. I has been grown in post-revolution time, and I was working for a very much first launch reformist newspaper. My paper closed, and I had been in prison. Women in Iran are very different than, at least I could make a comparison with our Arab neighbors. They are very educated. They are in the society actively. Iran gave the right to the females to cast their votes many, many years ago. And that hasn't been even exercised yet in many of the regional countries. For example, in Saudi Arabia, women still cannot drive. Or the vote casting has been granted to the people of Kuwait very recently. So Iranian women has that opportunities to speak up and have the power to participate in the society. Before the revolution, we have ministers, and so we haven't had any ministers yet, but we have been told there might be at this current government an ambassador would be appointed soon, or some of those advisors to the presidents are women. Still, because I believe our society are not as conservative as the government is. There is a very difference between our people and the government. And today they are here because they are reflecting that kind of thought and that kind of push. They can't live any longer with the sanctions and those isolations. And I'm very proud. I'm an international reporter, but I feel I can understand how much my people really looking forward for this deal. And I can hear them. They like to do much bigger.
Well, you described the Iranian people as highly educated, open-minded, and you claim very bravely, I have to say, that this is the exact common ground between Iranians and no other than Israelis. You are talking about this secret desire of the Iranian people to communicate not only with the West, but with Israel.
Iranians are not against Israelis at all. And to be honest with you, there are so much compassion and support it has existing in Iran in between ordinary Iranians. And Iranians seeing themselves as a non-Arab minority in the region, which definitely Israelis are. Today might be the governments has been in a clashes with each other, which they cannot see any ground common attraction, but definitely Iranians were seeing themselves like they are friends with Israeli. They are for many, many years. They were a very good connection. Iran still is having the biggest community of Jews in the Middle East, regardless of if they can participate in the executive office and so on. So we are not too religious in Iran. Iranians are not kind of typical Muslims. And that's why we don't have any Iranian in Daesh. We don't have any Iranian ever has been accused doing those terrorist activities. And at the same time, Iranians are not supporting the government, the regime, supporting, for example, Hamas or Hezbollah. They believe that those money hasn't been to be paid at this way, which it doesn't given back to Iran anything. Definitely, I can tell you positively, Iranian doesn't like the way the government has been supporting such groups.
Ms. Entekhabifard, thank you so much for this interview. It was so insightful, and again, I very appreciate your time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.